welcome to the editorial analysis of the Hindu. Today we shall be discussing the editorial of the 4th of September. Now there has been no discussion for the 3rd of September because no Hindu newspaper was what was published on the 3rd of September. So it was a holiday, it was a press holiday on the 3rd of September. So directly from 2nd, now we are discussing the 4th of September. So coming to the analysis, the first article is largely a continuation of our discussions previously. A life in the balance. This is in the context of the Kulbhushan Jhadhav case. For those of you who are following my videos for long, I'm sure you know that we have been discussing this issue for long. We have discussed into the several nuances of this particular issue, but there is a newer development in this particular case, and the newer development is that consular access is what has been now given by Pakistan to India. Previously also we had discussed that Pakistan was saying that it is going to give the consular access, but under CCTV cameras as well as under the supervision of its own officials, and India had previously refused for accepting these conditions of Pakistan. But now it is India which has bowed down, or for that matter taken a step back, and India has agreed that it will avail the consular access being given to Mr. Kulbhushan Jhadhav despite the conditions that Pakistan is imposing. So in all of those previous conditions that we have discussed, that there will be an official from Pakistan forces be present there, all of these conditions are what are not ideally welcome, otherwise it's not a norm, but this is what Pakistan is ordering and this is what India has now accepted. So this is the first issue that is important. Another thing that you need to know here in the context of the consular access is that this is what has been even given by Pakistan after India has fought a bitter battle at the International Court of Justice. Now, despite the fact that India and Pakistan both are signatories to the Vienna Convention of 1963, and under this particular convention, the norms are such that any person who is arrested from another country, any officer of another country arrested in a foreign country will be given consular access immediately and without any conditions. So both being signatories of Vienna Convention, this should have been followed, but Pakistan did not follow it, and that is why this decision is what came from the ICJ, and it is after this that finally Pakistan has accepted that it will allow consular access to Mr. Kulbhushan Jhadhav. So that is the entire context here. Now what is again important is that this is what is a sham, primarily because what has been reported by our officers who have gone to meet Mr. Kulbhushan Jhadhav, they have said that his confession is what is seeming as coerced. Just like his trial was what was during his trial in a military court in Pakistan, he was forced to give a particular confession, he was forced to make some statements. Similarly, even now when he has spoken to the officials, he is seeming to be under a lot of pressure, and especially he is being forced to parrot a false narrative is what has been talked about in the editorial. His confessions and his statements, his response is what is very, very coerced. So in that context, even this access being given, this is what is a mere sham. So that is what has been talked about. Next, what has been discussed is the next part of the verdict. Now basically, what is the next part of the verdict? The first part of the ICJ verdict was that he should immediately be given consular access. The second part of the verdict, now because Pakistan has followed the first part of this verdict, that is allowing consular access, it is being expected that Pakistan will also probably allow the second part of the verdict, which is very important. You should know that the military court had awarded a death sentence to Mr. Kulbhushan Jhadhav, which has been stayed or which has been held for now by the ICJ, and as a result of which it is being expected that probably this death sentence is what is going to be shelved for now because of the ICJ verdict, and it is being analyzed. The next part of the verdict will also be followed by Pakistan. So that is what is important. Another thing that is important here is with regards to the rhetoric that is developing between both India and Pakistan, which is a cause of concern. Now basically here the issue is that the life of one person is what is at stake, that is Mr. Jhadhav himself. Now his life is at stake in a very, very tumultuous situation between both the countries, primarily because the bilateral relations between both the countries are at the worst, and there is a lot of political rhetoric that is developing between both the countries, and in this kind of a scenario it is expected that probably situations will become bitter and he might not get justice here, and that is one thing that is a cause of concern because it is the issue of a man's life which is hanging as of now, and for ensuring that he gets justice, both countries have to rise above the situation and ensure that justice is what is brought about. So that is what is the entire analysis here. I have previously previously also mentioned, India-Pakistan relation, we all know, is something that is not current affairs, it is basic. You have to be prepared in the general studies paper for India-Pakistan relations. And if a question does come and you do not talk about the Kulbhushan Jhadhav issue in the India-Pakistan relations, it is criminal. You will not be rewarded marks if you're not talking about these key issues only and you are just beating around the bush. Don't do that. This is a very important topic in the context of India-Pakistan relations. Anytime you have an opportunity of discussing India-Pakistan relations, please talk about the Kulbhushan Jhadhav case. So that is why this article is important. Coming to the next article, putting the skids under a border trade. Now basically, this article is again context with regards to the India-Pakistan ties, but what is more specific about this article is that this particular article is specifically focusing on the trade aspect of the India-Pakistan ties, and that is why this article is unique also. This article is important because trade relations are what is suspended for now, so this becomes a little relevant, though previously also we have discussed articles like this, but definitely this is what is in the newer context, and that is why it is important. So coming to the analysis, first and foremost, you should be aware of the recent developments. Just after the Pulwama attack, India decided to withdraw the most favored nation status that it had given to Pakistan, and subsequently India also imposed a 200% custom duty on all Pakistani goods that were coming to India. Also, after the Balakot airstrikes again in February, India and Pakistan closed their airspace also. This was further reiterated by Pakistan, that Pakistan also further cancelled all trade relations with India, suspended all trade relations with India, and more recently, after the Jammu and Kashmir reorganization bill, Pakistan has cut off all diplomatic and economic ties with India, and it has also expelled Indian envoy and also partially shut the airspace between India as well as Pakistan, and then this is what has been reiterated by India also. So all of this is what is basically happening between India and Pakistan. These are the recent developments which you should be aware of. This is nothing new. All of this is what has happened in the past also, but yet again this is what has been repeated, so that is important. Some data is also important, though a lot of data is what has been offered in the editorial, but you need not know so much. But you need to know at least some basic aspects of the trade relation between India and Pakistan. You should know that the trade between both the countries is to the tune of $2.5 billion, and of these $2.5 billion, $2.06 billion is what India is exporting. So it is not that Pakistan is going to be impacted much. Definitely if Pakistan is importing from India also, then in that case Pakistan is also impacted, but Indian exports are also suffering. So that is one issue. And another thing is that India was only importing approximately $4.95 million worth of imports from Pakistan. These are the figures that have been mentioned, so you can make a note of these. At least these basic data is what you will have to remember by heart. So that is one thing that is important. Another thing that is important here is with regards to the impacts. Now whenever these trade ties are suspended, the larger impact on the economy is minimal. Clearly we can see India has trades worth suppose $70 billion is the trade that India is having with US, and India has trade which is very high. So compared to that, the India-Pakistan trade ties is only $2.5 billion. We can easily analyze. This will not have much of an impact on the national economy, both for India as well as for Pakistan. But the impact is largely on the border states, on the border economies, because these are the states and these are the regions that are very much dependent on the earnings on the bilateral trade between these countries. For instance, the regions of Kashmir, some villages in Kashmir, also Amritsar as an example is what has been given in the editorial, that Amritsar is largely dependent on trade between India and Pakistan through the Wagah-Atari border. Amritsar, we all know, is a landlocked area and it is not a metropolis, and it has Amritsar traditionally also does not have any significant industry. So all that Amritsar is depending upon is on Pakistan-India trade ties, and that is why this is one region that gets badly impacted because of such kind of suspension of trade relations. What happens in these border economies is that they simply see a cycle of boom and bust. So that is what is the that is about the economies of these border regions, which get largely hit in a negative manner. So this is one thing that you must highlight whenever you are discussing about trade ties. Now basically one thing I would like to just add here, that suppose you get a question on India-Pakistan trade ties, and you are not very much knowledgeable, or you don't have very much of a knowledge on this particular issue, then only write what you know. Sometimes what happens is that students are writing that this is going to impact the economy of Pakistan as well as India. Already both the countries are facing an economic slowdown. When the examiner is going to check your paper, the examiner is very highly educated, he's an expert in these topics. He will immediately be able to identify that the student neither has knowledge of India-Pakistan relation nor has knowledge of the economy of India, because it is clearly showing that a student is unable to comprehend the fact that India-Pakistan trade ties will not impact India's economy negatively. So don't give such kind of an analysis which is not something that you are clear about. Rather, if you will talk about these border economies, this is what is very much known and this is very much acceptable, and an expert will immediately recognize that yes, this student is learned and he's prepared well, and he will definitely refer you. So that is how you have to be cautious while writing your answers. Another thing that is important here is with regards to some specific examples. Try and use these examples that give a good impression always. Basically, two examples are what have been taken. The first example is of gypsum. Now, India was importing a lot of gypsum from Pakistan, and this was used in making cement not only in India but also in Nepal. But because of this cutting of trade ties, now the gypsum is what India has to import from other countries, and that is why what is happening is that the cost of gypsum has increased. It has increased almost double is what has been the increase, from rupees 3 per kg to now rupees 7 per kg is the increase that is seen in gypsum. Another thing is with regards to cotton. Now that is what has been analyzed in this side of the article, that Pakistan has been hit too. Now Pakistan used to import a lot of cotton from India for its textile industry and its loom industries, but now because of these trade ties being suspended, Pakistan will have to look for other exporters like US, Australia, Egypt and Central Asia, which is again not very much in the interest of Pakistan. So both the countries in these particular contexts suffer. So try and use some kind of specific examples that it will definitely give a good impression. Now, what is the solution to this whole issue? The first solution is that trade ties should not be suspended, bilateral relations should be improved. That is the longer and the far-sighted picture. But as of now, we cannot see a solution to the India-Pakistan relations, which appear to be tense for at least some coming years. Now, what is the solution in the short term or for the near future? The solution is that the government should have sympathy for these border economies. The government should rise to the occasion and generate alternate sources of income for these people. And if it is not able to generate alternate sources of income for these people in the short term, at least it should compensate them in some way. Some allowances should be given to them, or some money should be given to them as a social development or a welfare scheme. But this is also not happening, and this is what is resulting in a lot of anger and angst being built in the minds of the people of this particular region, particularly in Kashmir, where people are getting alienated. So this is how you can link it to the situation in Kashmir also. So that is what is the entire analysis here. Again, India-Pakistan relation, very, very important. Trade aspects, again, something very important. This is something that is basic. Now you will have to prepare for all aspects of India-Pakistan relation. So that is the relevance of this particular article. Coming to the next article, on the edge. Now the context here is with regards to the economic slowdown that India is facing. Now basically, these kind of articles, I have always stressed, are somehow very, very seasonal. This is a trend in the economy which is just for some time. These data will change, the figures will change. So definitely you have to be aware of the trends, but you need not remember these facts and the figures because they are subject to a lot of change. But this particularly becomes a tad bit more important, because this is what is a 6-year low in the economy. The economy as of now, the figure that has reached is what is 5%, and this is what is the slowest in approximately 6 years. In the quarter of April and June this year, the economic growth rate is what has been 5%, and this is clearly what is one of the slowest in many, many years. So that is the concern that has been highlighted. Another important aspect is with regards to the gross fixed capital formation. Now basically, for those of you who don't know what GFCF or gross fixed capital formation is, I would suggest I have made an entire 2-minute series on economy and several important topics of economy and these difficult terms. Please go and watch that series to improve your basics if you are having difficulty. So that is what is going to help you. But as of now, I can just simply go a little bit in detail, which is that GFCF, the gross fixed capital formation, is simply a proxy to investment activity as has been shown. It simply shows that what is the capital that has been formed in the country in a particular time period. That means what is the investment that is done. This again is what has fallen in the economy, which is the concern. This is what has fallen to 4%. Previously, this was what was 13.3%. So from 13.3%, this is what has now fallen to 4%. And this is again showing that the economy is not on a good ground, or it is not moving in the right direction. So that is what is a cause of concern. Now what the government response has been, we have discussed articles on this. It is repetitive that the government has taken a lot of serious steps in this particular regard. The government has reversed some of its previous decisions. It has made changes in the context of the FDI sector. Also in the context of the foreign portfolio investors, the government has made changes so that more and more money can come to India. Also the challenges are what have been talked about here, that the challenges are primarily vis-a-vis the agriculture sector of India. We have seen that the monsoons this year have been mercurial. There have been areas where there has been a lot of rain, there is flooding. Similarly, there are areas where there has been a deficit. All of this is what is impacting the economy of India, and that is what is a cause of concern. The banking sector is still under stress. Non-performing assets are still there in the banking sector, which is preventing them to ensure high degree of credit, and as a result of it, what is happening is that because of lack of credit, investment is what is getting weaker in the country, and that is why there is an economic slowdown. So all of this is what is a trend, but definitely this becomes slightly important because a 6-year low has been reached. So if a question does come, especially for this year's mains, you have to be very, very sure in writing that economy is what has slowed down. So that is how you have to use this particular article, and that's about this particular article, and that's about our discussion for today. And thank you all for watching the video.